Hello everyone. You are listening to Radio Amity 107.8 FM. I am Karan Jan,
And I'm Reem.
and today we are diving deep into some important conversations. Welcome to this safe space where we can all come together to explore the real, raw thoughts and experiences of 20 somethings and the teens at heart, navigating the ups and downs of young adulthood. Here we are going to address some of those difficult topics that we often shy away from everyday conversation because we want to remind you you are not alone. We hope this space makes you feel seen, heard, and represented. Let's talk through it all. Hi Reem, how are you doing?
Hi, Karan. I'm doing good. How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm very excited to be here hosting your podcast. Okay, I would like to start with something very generic, very easygoing. Tell me something about yourself and just basic introduction to our audience.
Well, I guess from the past few episodes, you all know that my name is Reem. I'm a student of BSc Life Sciences. I'm your classmate and hopefully a friend. Um, and so what else do you want to know about me? I'm really passionate about topics like mental health and the importance of taking care of oneself. And I like reading books and I enjoy literature very much. I guess that's it. What else do you want to know about me?
Um, First of all, yes, you are my friend. Stop second guessing that. And secondly, you are one of the smartest people I know. So, yeah, give yourself a pat on your back. Okay, since I'm aware about you shifting to India few years ago, so can you please tell me about your upbringing, where you were born, your how you were brought up, and stuff like that?
Well, yes, it is true. I wasn't in India for a long period of time. I've spent most of my childhood living in Saudi Arabia. I've jumped from places like I was born in Kashmir. I was taken to Saudi when I was quite young, so I don't really remember anything about Kashmir. And then Saudi, I spent around 10, 15 years of my life. 15, 10, 12 years of my life. I've lived in Jeddah, I've lived in Riyadh, and it was a good place. It was a good place to live. And what else do you want to know about this?
How was your experience growing up in Saudi? Like, if you can compare and contrast to your experience living in India now. So, I would really like to know about that.
Well, honestly, I'm a simple girl. I've always been a homebody. Uh, taking me out of my house is a big task for anyone and everyone involved. So I don't think there's much of a difference between living in these two countries. There are certain cultural differences, obviously. Saudi as a country is known to be a little bit strict. But honestly, I didn't find it to be in that way because I don't mind. Like I said, I'm a homebody. I never left the house, so it never mattered to me. And I guess that's all. There's not much of a difference. In India, I've gotten more opportunities, yes, in India to explore the country properly, to explore my passions and my interests a little bit more. But then again, it also depends on personality, and I guess I do not have the personality for roaming around and exploring new things. So it's been the same.
Being a homebody is also a personality. So, everybody has
Yeah.
a personality, okay? And what kind of passions and opportunities you got to explore here?
Passions and opportunities. Well, for a long period of time, I really thought I was a scientific sort of person, a rational thinker, somebody who believes in the logistics of everything. But I think with growing up, I think there comes a time where we all have like a little bit of an existential crisis, thinking about, oh my God, who am I? What am I? So after that phase of life, I realized that no, I'm not a rational person.
You're a dreamer.
I'm a dreamer.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm an idealistic person. I live in the world of ideals where everything is rainbows and roses, even though I know the real world is not. And so I realized I have a little bit of a passion for art, for literature, especially poetry. Poetry is near and dear to my heart. And for beautiful art pieces that depict the depths of human emotion. And I love delving into the human psyche and what human emotions can be and how profound their impacts can be on everyday life and how difficult it is to navigate through the society with hearts like that. So coming to India, I got the opportunity to explore those parts of myself which I didn't even know because I spent like only a part of my childhood in Saudi. So I can't say that it's the place that does it. It's also the age as well, the coming to the realization of who you are as a person. But yeah, India really helped open doors for me to explore these topics and also delve into small hobbies like playing the piano or trying to paint, even though I'm terrible at it. And yeah, that's all I
You
guess.
can have a hobby even if you're not the best at it, you know?
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's one thing I'd like to say. Have a hobby, guys. You don't have to be the best at it. I know we all struggle with that, with wanting to be perfect. Perfectionism is a disease, I feel sometimes. So,
I think we
yeah.
all suffer through that.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you talk about you are an idealistic person who believes in,
In the romanticism of life.
yeah,
Yeah.
sort of that La La Land as well.
Mhm.
I want to ask, like, do you have these set of rules and regulation for yourself that no, I can't do this. This is going away from the norm, or this is not what is expected from me. So I won't be the rebel. I will just do as what I'm said and not cross that limit at all.
Hmm. Well, yes. I feel like um we all have such things in us. There's this internal voice, a critical voice in our heads, always telling us what is right, what is wrong. And I feel like it depends also on the way you're raised and on the ideals you've been provided as a child. Because no matter what, the way you're nurtured,
Upbringing.
it really impacts your way of thinking. And that's a whole another topic, a whole another conversation for some other day. But yeah, do I have a set of rules and regulations in my head? Yes, I do. Do I adhere to them strictly? Yes. Even though sometimes my heart is in a different place than my head, I do try and tend to think rationally about things.
Doesn't it affect you? Like, isn't it like at some point like self-harming for you?
Hmm. Well,
Self-destructive to you,
yeah,
if I may say.
self-destruct. Yes. Sometimes, but also current, what we have to keep in mind is we live in a society and we need to abide by certain rules the society does provide us because completely overthrowing those will tend to isolate us in a certain way. It tends to bring you out in a spotlight sort of situation, and some people do enjoy that. Some people enjoy being in the spotlight, and I'm not that kind of person. I don't like that sort of attention on me. So even if there are certain things that are not matching my ideals, but they seem right as something to be done according to society, then yes, I do follow my head over my heart in those situations. And does it hurt me? Yeah. I have feelings. I'm human. Of course, they hurt me. But you gotta do what you gotta do to survive, you know?
Hmm. Okay. I kind of want to agree to disagree
Right.
because
Again, everyone has their
huh.
own ideals and their own thoughts, and
because I
I
feel like
appreciate that.
because I feel like yes, there are rules and regulations in the society that our constitution has set up for
It's not the
ourselves.
constitution as well, it's just society as a
Yeah,
whole.
so this social construct that we
Right.
have, but I feel like as a generation or as a society, who made these rules, if you think about it, I feel like we are the ones who are gonna break it and make better rules for ourselves that fit us, because
Yeah.
rules and regulations are made like years ago, and I feel like amendment is the key. Change is the only constant.
Right.
Okay, so this is the another conversation, and I liked your answer, and I kind of expected that also. Okay, can you highlight some similarities, or if there were any contrast between the education system in India and Saudi?
Well, honestly, I cannot give you any differences because I personally studied in a CBSE school in Saudi. Therefore, my curriculum, my way of teaching was very much similar to the way we're taught in India. But a difference I would like to point out is the competition. The level of competition I've seen within students in India, the level of competition there is overall in India, it's profound. It's ginormous. But in Saudi, there wasn't this pressure of being in this rat race of being in a certain college or doing or getting a certain number of marks. In Saudi, it was more of a culminative sort of process. Even though it was CBSE board, we were really, taught to not only take education, that is the literacy of all things, but also education of character. We were taught to build our personalities as well, um,
How?
because there was not a big focus on marks. If you had opportunities you were given for other things like speaking or recitations or writing or art, um, those were also considered a huge deal in Saudi. In India, even though in India there are a lot of places that respect art and literature
Extracurriculars.
and extracurriculars, but somewhere along the way during that period of 11th grade, 12th grade, where it's a career forming part of our lives, those things seem to be subdued. It's really go 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 only on um, the studying part and the pressure to get into a reputed college to make a name for yourself. It's profound.
I also agree with you. There's this sense of profound jealousy among students. Like they don't wanna just do good for themselves. They would want to pull somebody down to be at the top. And I feel like as a next generation, it's something very concerning. And talking about this, I would like to quickly mention about the Dead Poet Society movie.
Ah,
Uh,
near and dear to my heart. I love that movie.
there's this dialogue of the teacher John is the name, if I'm not wrong, and he says science, medicine, and everything, it's fine, but what we live for is the art, the poetry, the music. And you also definitely watch that movie. If you haven't, it's a classic. Okay, coming back to the topic.
I
uh,
would always love to deviate to talk about the Dead Poets Society. It's an amazing depiction of the human psyche and of how profound our emotions can be in terms of what we want to be and what we have to be.
due to society again, this all circle back to this stupid social construct. I mean, it's not stupid, but you know what I mean.
Right.
um, can you tell me about how has the environmental condition of India has affected you? Like, was there any sort of difficulties for you to adjust here, and
Hmm.
any medical conditions and everything?
When when you're living in a place for a long time, which you've considered home for yourself, there's always going to be a little bit of a difficulty to adapt to a newer environment, to different cultural, obligations. So yeah, obviously, moving on is hard. We're humans. We tend to be of in the nature to get attached to things, to places, to people. And of course, I was attached to the place. I was attached to the people I'd been with for so long. So yes, my first year here was a little difficult, and considering that I'm quite introverted in nature, even though it doesn't seem so right now because I'm talking a lot, but overall, yeah, it was difficult to make friends. It was difficult to settle into a society that was functioning in a different manner than the one I had been so used to in Saudi. Uh, so I faced, we all face a sense of loneliness sometimes in life. So yeah, I felt lonely. I felt alone, but it doesn't last. Like you said, change is the only thing that's constant. So we come back, we learn to adapt, and we make new friends, we make new memories, and then we get attached to this new place. So yeah, even though it was difficult in the start, I learned to find my way through it all, and I feel like I'm in a good place here now. Health wise, like you asked, um, it's not the move. I have had health conditions ever since I was young. I've had it in Saudi, I've had it here, and health also, it goes up and down. Like life itself, you can't consider there to be a plateau, because if it's a plateau, you're dead. So mm, yeah, health issues, you deal with them all the time. I do suffer from uh, IBS, which is a problem. It's been a problem since I was young, which it's difficult to deal with, but then you learn to live with it.
Can you explain to our audiences what is IBS and more, little bit more about it, as much as you're comfortable?
Well, IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. It's nothing but a weird irritability of your bowels. They do not seem to regulate their functions properly. The intestines work too fast. I'm not a doctor, so I cannot really expand on it as much as you'd like me to, but from my personal experience, it's difficult to deal with. There are a lot of food allergies you have to take care of. And it's not like one food, if it suits you one day, it will not suit you the other. It's a constant war between you and your gastrointestinal system. And it gets triggered from with a lot of things. It gets triggered with uh, sudden changes in life. It gets triggered with stress. It gets triggered with food. So I guess it does affect the quality of life, I'd like to say. And again, it's a spectrum. For many people, it is not as bad, and for many people, it's really bad. I've experienced both ends of the spectrum, and I'd like to say the bad is bad and the good is good. So at least there's that to it. Yeah.
Okay, so I will shift the conversation to a more lighter note.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about your hobbies? Like, what do you like to do in your free time, or what makes you happy at heart? What makes that inner child happy in you?
Huh. What makes the inner child happy? Right. Well, if we talk about hobbies, I like to read. It's a very basic hobby, but I like
There's
reading.
nothing basic about it.
And I like viewing art. I'm not very good at creating it. I hope someday I can be. I would like to learn how to create art, like pottery, clay, working with clay, or like paintings, portraits. They tend to speak so much to you if you look at them in the right way, and they tend to hit those strings in your heart, which sometimes language becomes a barrier for. So I like that. What else do I like? I like being in nature. I love the idea of a calm and quiet space, of time spent with animals, of being in touch with the creations of life, the water, the mountains, the trees. Yeah. So those are my things that I'm passionate about. Now talking about something that would make my inner child happy. Mm, even the simplest things like walking on an early morning before the sunrise, watching the sunrise would make my inner child happy. Sitting with a friend and watching the sunsets would make my inner child happy. Uh, watching the day go by, watching the moon rise on an ocean floor would make me happy. And reading beautiful, beautiful pieces of literature and poetry makes me happy, I guess. Those are the things that truly bring me joy.
Okay. So one thing that has been really common throughout this podcast is reading. Okay.
Reading, yes.
So I want to know how this habit of you reading actually started. Like, do you remember what's the first book or l- a piece of literature or a story that you have read as a child, and how has it started for you?
As a child, I think the first book I remember reading
Because
is
because I also remember that you started reading and speaking at a very early age compared to other toddlers.
yeah.
So
Speaking was I
uh,
was always a talker, I guess. I
hmm.
started speaking quite early. Um, but where did this reading habit come from? Again, like I mentioned earlier, the way you're brought up, the way your upbringing is, really impacts who you are as a person, to a certain extent. Therefore, I think I'd like to credit this to my mother. She's a person who enjoys um, learning things. She enjoys knowledge.
She has that curious personality.
Yeah, she loves intelligence, and I feel like it's something in common we have, because even I enjoy these sort of things. So she was the one who inculcated these habits in me, and at an early age she was the one who handed me a book of nursery rhymes, because that's what we tend to learn first. But if we talk about a book, I remember like a distinctive book I remember reading that got me in to it is, have you heard of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Ronald Dahl?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, of
obviously.
course. Everyone has heard of it. So I remember that book I'd borrowed from a school library, and I stayed up till 4 a.m. in the morning. I finished it.
How old were you?
Uh, I think I was like six,
Oh my God.
seven, six,
Wow.
seven.
Like,
So
imagine a 6-year-old staying up late to read a book. I mean, today's generation parents are they're gonna be baffled about it.
no, I feel like when you're, like I said, when you're a dreamer and an idealist, books provide the perfect escape, because they give you a sense of control over the realities that you're facing, and they give you opportunities that you would not be able to have for yourself, being introverted and quiet in nature. So they become sort of your first friend.
Yeah, books are your best
They
friends.
are. They
Yeah.
truly are. They are there for you when times are bad, and they're there for you when times are good.
They're
And
always with you. That's the point.
exactly.
And the sort of characters that we read, they become our friends. We put ourselves in their shoes, and it's a sense of like escape from the reality.
Exactly. It's a great escape from reality. They give you a break from your life, from your problems, from situations that tend to trouble you, or that you don't want to face, and they give you a sense of calmness, even though it is temporary, but it really does help.
And I think it is also said when you read books, you live multiple lives.
Exactly. Readers have lived multiple lives, they've lived multiple stories, and they've had experiences far beyond what normal life would provide for them.
Okay, I really want to ask you, as a big time reader yourself,
Not
uh,
that big, honestly. Just an average reader.
quite humble of you. Anyways, what is your take on books versus movies? Like, what do you what's your take
The
on
age
that?
old question of books versus movies.
Because when somebody say, oh, I'm a reader, this habit of them is like, oh, it's such a nice hobby and everything. But when somebody talks about being a cinephile, or they really like watching movies, then it's a habit to people look down upon. They're like, you don't have a life, that's why you just sit at home and watch movies. But in contrast, if you're reading a book, then they're like, oh, it's nice, actually he's reading something. So what's your take on that?
Honestly, yes, I have heard of this debate and of this constant tug of war between readers and cinephiles, movie watchers. Um, I feel like both of them are beautiful in their own way. Books are art that you have to imagine. They are beautiful, beautiful pieces of words strung together that help you imagine and create exquisite worlds in your head. Movies provide a rendition, a picturization for a sense of camaraderie for people. Um, Movies let you feel like there are actual people that there's a sense that you see real people on the screen, so you can feel like it's more relatable because you see more real people. But with books, it's like it gives you the freedom of imagining it to the way you want it. Movies give you a pre-imagined piece of art. They're both beautiful in their own ways, and honestly, I don't have any issues with books or movies. They A picturization of a book can not meet a reader's expectation because the reader has created a rendition of imagination in their heads. So of course it's one person's way of thinking is not going to match the other person's way of thinking, and the one person's way of picturization is not going to be the same as the other person's way of picturization. So there can be a clash of creativity, but I don't feel like anything is worse or better than the other. I personally, if there's a good movie, I will watch it, and a good book is always gonna be something I'm gonna read. Even if it's a bad book, I'm gonna read it. But yeah,
To each on their own.
exactly.
Okay, this is a very personal question that I want to ask you. What are some of your favorite books?
Oh, have you ever heard of
Like the
the?
books that you would want to recommend to me or the audience?
Have you ever heard of the saying "Never ask a reader of their favorite books"?
No.
Because it's difficult to quantify or to consider something as my favorite because each book
Books that you would recommend.
has a personality on its own. There's, Russian literature I enjoy. There are old English classics I like to read. And of course, how can we forget the romantic comedies? The spectrum is way too large. But for a general read, for a
A
person who
must read. Tell me a book that is must read according to you. Like every human should read it.
um, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Really?
It's an easy read,
Hmm.
and if you wanna get into the world of self-exploration and realization that there's more to you and more to the universe than the daily conundrums of society, it's a very introductory book. Like, I'm not saying it's one of the best out there, but it introduces you to those concepts, and it's portrayed beautifully. It's written in a very interactive manner. It keeps you hooked on your seat to want to know more. Something else I'd like to recommend is anything of Sylvia Plath and Virginia Woolf. It's a rite of passage. Books written by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It's Russian literature. It's an acquired taste, but if you can, try and read it. Like The Idiot or Crime and Punishment. They're beautiful books. They really, uh, they really rattle your sense of society and self belief and make you question anything and everything at the same time.
Some of the classics that you have read or you want to recommend.
The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. It's an amazing book. The concepts explores and the way the words are strung together so beautifully. The storytelling is magnificent. Of course, it's Oscar Wilde. It has to be. So that's a classic I'd recommend to people if they want to try delving into this sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. What's the last book that you have read?
The last book I read. Well, it's been quite a while because with college getting a little stressful considering NSEM is
And never ending internals, I would like to really mention.
exactly. So it's been a while since I read, but a book I did pick up recently is I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. It's a Korean. It's a book by a Korean author. It delves into the topics of mental health, and it's really candid. It's a conversation she has with her psychiatrist, and it really resonated with me because it makes you feel seen, it makes you feel represented, and it makes your problems not feel as big anymore because
You are not the only one.
exactly. And that's, I think, something we've been trying to accomplish with this podcast as well. um, we want people to know that they're not alone when we talk about hard things like that.
I want to ask, like, what um I'm not able to form the sentence. Oh my god. Um, what has it been? What's your take on this online ebooks and physical books? Like, how? What's your take on that?
Another debatable question, right? You seem to be full of them today. But uh, honestly, again, with debatable questions, the thing is, it depends on person to person.
I just want your take. That's
And
it.
me as a person, I don't have an issue with any of it. You hand me a Kindle, I'm ready to read a book on a Kindle. You hand me a physical book, I'm ready to read the book on a physical book.
How do you decide this is the book I want a physical copy, or this is the book I would just read it on as a ebook?
Uh, if you truly are a connoisseur of books, you must know that it is not a decision that is easy. You want a physical copy of every book you read. It's a sort of memento. We as humans tend to collect mementos of things we enjoy, keeping memories and keepsakes of good and bad situations in life. The bad ones are not so easy to get rid of, and the good ones we never want to leave them. So even with books, these stories, they become a part of a reader's mind. They become a part of your heart. You tend to form a connection with them. And there's always a want to keep a memento of something like that. So deciding which book to have a physical copy of depends honestly for me right now on the space I have at my place, which is not a lot. So I tend to read more online versions nowadays because I don't have the space to keep the beautiful copies of those books safe somewhere.
And books are expensive as well. Like if you get a hard copy, especially.
They are, but I feel like they're worth it.
Yeah.
You know, they're worth every penny because you can read them as many times as you want. It's a story is going to constantly give you new perspectives and new learnings every time you read it.
And I feel like there's a sense of feeling when you touch a hard cover of a book.
The smell of books,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
feel of books. It's a way of romanticizing life, I guess.
Okay, enough of debatable questions for you. Okay, just the last question for you. What is the advice that you would like to give to your younger self?
A profound question, pertinent question, really, and I feel like I've not grown up enough to have an opinion on this sort of thing. But yeah, I have had a couple of experiences in life that make me think on this. So something I'd like to tell my younger self would, I'd like to tell them two things. I'd like to tell her that always choose the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. Always, no matter what happens, no matter where you are, both the things will hurt in the end. But please, choose the pain of discipline because delayed gratification is worth it. Instant gratification, that it might feel fun for a while, but it's always going to end up in pain. It's always going to end up in hurt. And something else I'd like to tell to her is it's okay to be scared. You have to do it scared. Your fear is a part of you. You need to accept that. But you also need to know that there's no one who's going to come to save you.
You
There's
are
no
on
one
your
who's
own,
going
kid.
to exactly, there's no one who's going to help you up all the time. And the opportunities you lose because of your fear, they're lost forever. You know, you're not going to get them back, and you're going to live again with the regret of being unable to take that step forward. So no matter how scared you are, no matter how hard it is, you have to do it. You have to do it scared, because I promise you, you are stronger than you believe you are. So you will come out of it. It's not like something you won't come out of. You will come out of it a different person, of course, but not necessarily different in a bad way. You'll be evolved. You'll have learned the rock bottom of things, and the rock bottom keeps changing, guys. It can be something one day, and it can be something else the other. So just do it scared, and I promise you it's going to be okay.
It gets better.
Even if it doesn't get better, you learn to adapt, you learn to live with it. So yeah, that's something I'd like to tell her.
A very profound answer. And just a quick follow up. How do you make sure that you don't go into this intricate web hole of instant gratification and make sure to work hard for that delayed gratification? Like as an adult now.
I'm the wrong person to ask this question, because I do struggle with
Yeah, me too.
delayed
That's why I wanted to ask.
gratification. It's difficult to delay some good things, and it's difficult to accept the fact that even though something is giving us a sense of pleasure right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that pleasure is good for us. um it can feel good for a moment, but it's gonna end up haunting you or hurting you in the end. And so I'm also trying to learn and trying to navigate my way through this intricate web of
Hell of a loophole.
exactly of instant gratification, and trying to provide for myself in the future by understanding the importance of delayed gratification.
Okay, I would just like to say this is one of my favorite podcasts, and I loved hosting it and putting Reem on the spot to speak so much. And thank you so much for doing that
And
for me.
thank you so much for talking to me and asking these beautiful questions, and really actually making me think about things.
Okay, so even though we don't want it to be to end, but that's a wrap on Talk Through It. We have reached the end of this journey, and what a ride it has been. Over the course of this series, we have explored mental health issues, PCOS, queer representation, the importance of queer representation, the impact on mental health due to our need for academic validation, among many other topics, hobbies, books, and everything in between. And delving into the ups and downs, the raw truths, and the untold stories that shape our experiences. We started this podcast with the goal of creating a safe space to have open, honest conversations and to let everybody know that they are not alone in facing life's challenges. Along the way, we have shared laughs, faced some tough realities, and hopefully offered a sense of connection and understanding. We want to extend our deepest gratitude to all of our guests who brought their wisdom. Dr. Nitin Arora for allowing us to have this opportunity, perspectives, and authenticity to the table. And of course, a huge thank you to our listeners for being part of this journey. Your support, feedback, and willingness to talk through it with us have made this series truly special.
Yeah, though this chapter is coming to an end, the conversations don't have to stop here, you guys. Stay connected, keep these discussions alive in your everyday life, and continue to explore, learn, and grow. Who knows, we might be back with a new series or special episodes in the future. Until then, remember to keep talking through it. Take care, stay curious, and as always, be kind to yourselves and others. Thank you so much for listening to Radio Amity 107.8 FM.
Thank you.